Hello, this is SJ Talks in Life coming back at you with another video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're on your cell phone, it's that little bitty button in the corner. If you're looking at me from your cell phone, it's that little button in the down there in the corner right there. Just go ahead and hit that. Please and thank you. Still trying to grow here. Help a sister out. Thank you, and I really appreciate it. And to the ones that has subscribed to me already, my new subscribers, thank you so much. And my current subscribers, the people that watch my videos, every video that I post, because I see you guys in my comments. Some of you sent the guys that consistently post in my comment section. I know you're watching my content, so I want to take the time to thank you guys and really show some appreciation. I really appreciate you guys for watching my videos and listening at me run out at the mouth every day. Well, anyway, I really appreciate you. All right. Now, the other day I did a video on brother. I was talking about brother Umar was right about the brother stepping up. That's kind of like the title of the video. And in that video, I mentioned, I talked about racism because I talked about black men blaming black women, black men blaming racism. They're either blaming black women or they're blaming the white man, racism, for things in the community. So I talked a little bit in that video about racism and that we can't blame racism for everything. I want to expand further on that. That's what I want to talk about. I want to expand further on that. Now, in this country, black people, we have, there's a history between white and black people, white ancestors enslaving the black ancestors. Slavery went on for 246 years. As a result, there were Jim Crow after that, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, white supremacy, and unfortunately, we are still dealing with the effects of all that because of the history in this country between white and black people. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with a lot of the effects. We're still dealing with systematic racism, white supremacy. Unfortunately, it's still alive and well. And then when you sometimes read in some of these blogs on Facebook, I read in a lot of blogs on Facebook and stuff, and boy, some of these comments that some of these white people be saying, it's off the chain. And, you can't go back and forth with all of them. And so racism is still alive and well. It's in our system, it's systematically, and a lot of people's views and opinions have not changed. So yes, racism is still a serious issue in our American culture, unfortunately. The very horrible, terrible, horrific history between black and white people is still has an effect today, you know, and white supremacy is still really prevalent. Instead of the playing field being level, you still have whites being above blacks as far as white people having certain privileges that black people don't have. Of course, that's a whole nother video. I'm not going to get into all that because that's a whole nother video. But anyway, thought I'd start with that first. But because of that systematic, they say that black people are still dealing with traumas from, they call it post-traumatic slavery syndrome. They said us generations of black people now are still dealing with a lot of trauma from, because I was looking up mental health, some information on Google about mental health, And you know how they always, when you type in something and they always give you a listing of other stuff, then you click on it. And they was talking about mental health issues with black people. What causes mental health issues with black people? And so I clicked on it and it said racism. And I was like, whoa, that's deep. It said, what causes mental health issues with black people? And I clicked on it and it said, the effects of racism. Of course, that's a whole nother video. I actually am going to do a video talking about um, the emotional and psychological and mental effects that racism does have on black people. But I got to do some research. I have to do some research before I do that video. But yeah, one day I'm going to do that video. But I got to do some research before I do it so I can know what I'm talking about. But yeah, but they say that black people still, us generation of black people, are still dealing with traumas uh, from, and because of the fact there is still racism. They call it post traumatic slavery syndrome, that we're still dealing with a lot of the traumas. And then when you look at our communities, you look at what's going on in our communities, a lot of gun violence, black people killing each other, the gender war between black men and black women, because from the beginning, our families were separated from the beginning. They started off like that. From the journey of from Africa to the United States, that's all they did was sold our people off, and they broke up families, during the whole, all those years of slavery. That's all they did was sell the slaves and trade slaves and consistently breaking up families. And then after that, they did it systematically through the system, you know. Now I think it's being done mentally. I think it's being done mentally now. It's more being done mentally, because um, you know because white people always put above black people, and mentally, we a lot of black people believe that white people are above black people or are better than black people, because that's what's been ingrained in our minds, mentally, um, over the past 400 years probably. So it takes a deprogramming. You have to go through like a deprogramming process. um, Black people have to go through like a deprogramming process to deprogram their mind, and then and and you got to ask God to help you with it too. You have to ask God to help you to deprogram your mind so you can reverse a lot of those beliefs that have been ingrained in us. So has yeah have they done a number on black people physically, emotionally, and psychologically? Absolutely, absolutely. Racism has a deep effect on us emotionally, psychologically, all those things. Absolutely. But with that being said, with all that being said, because I had to kind of talk about our history and all that stuff. With that being said, a lot of things that's going on in our communities and a lot of things that are going on with black people, it's easy for us, sometimes it's easy for us to say it's racism because of the history and what's still going on now. It's sometimes easy for us to say, well, this is the reason why this is going on in our communities. It's because of racism. Or, and there's discrimination in the workforce, discrimination in the healthcare system. And so it's very easy to say, it would be very easy for a lot of black people to say racism. It's racism. It's racism. It's racism. But however, like I said in that video, we cannot blame racism for everything. Sometimes it gets to a point to where racism is being blamed too much. You know, black people are saying racism too much. And it's because of the trauma. It's because of the trauma. They're saying racism too much of things that are in our control. There's certain things that's going on with us and certain things that's going on in our communities that we actually have control over. Do you know why we have control over it? It's because God gave us knowledge. God gave us knowledge. That's why we have control over it. There's certain things that are going on in our communities that we actually have the power to change because God gave us power. He gave us knowledge. And so when God gives us knowledge, we can't always use racism as an excuse all the time. Well, all the gun violence in the black community is racism. No, um, we do have traumas from racism, but we have the power. Our people have the power to stop it, to stop that. But it's certain things that we need to do, or maybe not stop it completely, but minimize it. But there's certain things that we as black people need to do to get a handle on the violence in our communities, our violent communities all over the country. There's certain things that we need to do. First of all, we need to have stronger black families. We have to have stronger black families. Fathers need to have more of an active role in raising the children, raising the boys and the girls. There needs to be more of strong unions between black men and black women so we can have stronger families. When we have stronger family units, then we could and teach our kids and raise our children to have good values and things like that. Then they'll know better than to go out there and go and shoot somebody or whatever the situation is. But it's because our families are broken up. And the white people are not making our people kill each other. They're not forcing our people to go out and kill each other. But it's cause and effect because our families are, and then, the black men like to say, well, they took the fathers out of the home because of the welfare. Well, welfare reform has been in place since 1996. Welfare reform has been in place since 1996. So women are not getting money like that on welfare no more. The system is not set up the same way it was back in the 80s, early 90s, 70s, 80s. The system is not set up like that no more. That might have been the case back in the 70s and 60s, 70s, 80s, but it's not the case. Mid 1990s, welfare reform took place, so you can't, you know what I'm saying? It's certain things that we just can't keep blaming the system. Certain things that we just can't keep blaming the white man. You know, it if it no the system is not in this day and age pushing the men out of the homes. It hasn't been like that for years because the system is not set up that way anymore. Women are not just sitting on welfare anymore because of welfare reform. So you can't keep blaming the system for uh, the men not being in the home because another reason is because people are making choices. Because black men are making choices. Not all of them, but a lot of them are making choices. They'll have a family over here, and then they'll go leave that family, go to another woman and start another family. Then they go to leave her, go to another woman and start another family. And a lot of there are too many of black men that are doing that. They're creating multiple families in the black community, which is leaving a high fatherlessness rate. And the white man is not making you do that. You're making decisions. You're making the conscious decision to do that. You're making the decisions because we're making decisions. Black people are making decisions. And because we're making those decisions, cause and effect. We're making those decisions, and that's the result of the decision that we made. And men are creating certain black men are creating multiple families, which is causing allow the children to be without a consistent father in their life. So that's a conscious choice that they're making due to lack of self control or lack of moral or low moral values or whatever the reason is. So some things we have to take a look at ourselves and decide, okay, what types of decisions are we making? Because God gave us knowledge. He gave us knowledge. He didn't give it to other races and not give it to us. No, he gave us knowledge. And actually, black people are very, very smart. So it's the choices that we're making. And it's a moral issue. A lot of black people are having moral issues. A lot of black men and women are dealing with moral issues. Instead of doing things God's way and getting married and then having your family and having that solid family structure, it's a lot of immorality that's going on in the black community. You know, a lot of immorality is going on in the black community, which is creating a lot of broken families. So it's choices. The black people are making choices. Are white people making the black men create multiple families? No. It's the choices that are being made in the low morals that's causing these problems. So when you're making those types of decisions and you're making those types of choices, you can't blame it on racism. You can't blame it on the white man. And then another thing is that it only goes so far. You know, we do have racism. Is it an obstacle? Absolutely. It's an obstacle for black men. It's black men and black women need to be going back and forth talking about, you know, you don't understand what the black man got to go through, as to suggest that the black man got to endure more racism than black women. Men and black women both. But it's a little bit worse for black women because black women have to also deal with sexism. Black women have to also deal with sexism in addition to racism. We have to deal with sexism in addition to racism, which makes it a little worse because we're black and female, which makes it a little worse for us. So black people like black men and black women like to go back and forth talking about, you know, but the bottom line is we all have to suffer, you know, deal with the obstacles that yes, does racism create obstacles? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. It doesn't mean that, you know, if we're making choices to do certain things or to not do certain things, then that is our choice. Because there's a lot of successful black people out there. Lots of successful black people. And they've made it beyond the odds, you know. And sometimes it's issues. Sometimes each and every individual have to take a look in the mirror at themselves and say, okay, what am I doing to stand in my own way? You know, what types of issues am I having? Might be emotional, psychological, whatever the issues, spiritual, or whatever issues that I may be having that's causing me to not press forward and do what I need to do to be successful in something that I want to do. But you can't really blame it on racism because there's a lot of successful black people. Do we have to work harder? Yeah, absolutely. We have to work twice as hard, you know, in the workforce and all that. But we still can make it because you know why? Because if God is for you, who can be against you? If God is for you, who can be against you? Like Tyler Perry always say, you got everybody telling you no. All you need is that one yes from God. Tyler Perry has said that on multiple occasions. I don't care how many no's you get. All you need is that one yes from God. So if God is for you, who can be against you? If something is supposed to happen for you, and if something is meant for you, you gonna make it. You gonna be successful. It doesn't matter what obstacles are thrown in your way. We have more obstacles? Yes, absolutely. It's more difficult for us to start businesses and things like that. But there have been black people that have done it. So that proves to us that we can do it because we've seen other black people do it. Is it that some black people are not willing to put in the effort? They're not willing to put in the effort. Or they may be dealing with some self-esteem issues. Or because I know when I had to leave my job in 2020, and because of being, you know, realizing that I was disabled, um, I've been, I went through a lot emotionally. I went through a lot emotionally, um, and I really lost my motivation. You know, I really lost my motivation. I'm still trying to get my motivation back up. You know, my motivation went, and I'm still trying to get my motivation back up. You know, and so that's what I'm saying. You have to take a look in the mirror at yourself and find out what obstacles are you enduring. Is it psychological? Is it emotionally, spiritually? It could be physical in a lot of cases, you know. Um, Dealing with physical issues, emotional issues, spiritual issues, psychological issues that may be causing you to be behind the eight ball. But don't blame it on racism because there's lots of successful black people out there. Sometimes we always tend to look outside of ourselves. We always tend to look outside of ourselves. But a lot of times we have to look inward and take a close look at ourselves and find out why certain things are happening. You know, can't blame racism for everything because we're making choices. We're making choices. And a lot of those choices are not good choices. And nobody is forcing us to do certain things to cause um, our people to be in certain situations. Choices are being made. And when you're making choices and they're not the right choices, then there's going to be a result to that choice that you made. Because there's black people that have made good choices and they took the proper steps that they needed to take to get to a certain level. And that's why they're at that level. That they had to endure some obstacles along the way? Absolutely. We're going to have to deal with more obstacles. But they were willing to jump over those hurdles to get where they needed to go. I admire black people like that. I really admire black people that are willing to endure all those obstacles to get where they're at. It takes a lot of endurance. It takes a lot of endurance. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of faith in God. It takes a lot of perseverance. It takes all that. And then you have to take a look at yourself and say, am I lacking certain things? That's causing me to not, this is what I want to do. But am I lacking certain things that's causing me to not take the steps to get there? And then another thing, there are lots of white people in this world. All white people are not racist. And there's lots of white people in this world, believe it or not, that will help you. If they see you trying to do something, they will help you. They will help you. Just like Goldman and Sachs is helping black women. All that money to help black women start businesses. Goldman and Sachs, a major white corporation, want to help black women get a leg up because they see a lot of There's more black female entrepreneurs. Sometimes if they see that you're trying to do something, they're willing to give you a helping hand. Certain white people. There's lots of white people out there like that. There's lots of white people. They are actually willing to help us. Believe it or not. You know? Believe it or not. Yeah. Not all white people are racist. There's a lot of them that are willing to help. If they see you trying to do something, they see you trying to do something to help yourself, to get to a certain, they're good-hearted. Some of them Christian white people, they'll help you. That's another reason why we can't. There's lots of white people that's willing to help. So, you say, well, I can't find a job, you know, okay, well, who you got to look at yourself. Once again, you got to look in the mirror at yourself. Why is it that, why is there, what is the reason why you can't find a job? Why aren't you taking the necessary steps? Instead of looking outside yourself, you gotta look inward. Okay, what am I doing to not, am I not filling out my resumes correctly? Is maybe has some mental or emotional issues going on, or whatever the situation is. So sometimes, like I said, we have to take a look at ourselves. We have to take a look at ourselves and find out. I know I'm a big procrastinator. I'm a big procrastinator. I lost my motivation. Actually, that happened before I stopped working. I lost my motivation because I got to a place I couldn't go back to school, and I didn't finish. I didn't get my bachelor's degree, so I really lost. I got really depressed and really lost my motivation. So if that's the situation, and life happens to all of us, and sometimes that happens. You fall into a slump. People get depressed. Life is hard. Life is hard. And life is really hard for black people. And so, you gotta, if you really want something, you gotta be willing to look inward and find out, okay, what am I doing okay, what are some of the things that I need to change? And sometimes that takes going to a therapist. Sometimes you gotta go into therapy, and then to help you, a therapist can sometimes help you unpack a lot of things. They can sometimes help you unpack a lot of things, and that's helpful. That can be helpful too. You know, they can help you unpack a lot of things mentally, so that can help you too. But instead of always looking outside of ourselves for the problems, we got to look inward. We got to look at what changes we need to make as a race, and call on God. Pray to God. Ask God to help us. You know, if I'm having certain issues I pray and I ask God to help me with I go to God and I ask God to help me. If we having issues with getting motivated, or we having issues with being frustrated or getting discouraged, which all those things can stop you from doing what you need to do. That's when you go to God, and you in a matter of prayer, and you ask Him, God, please help me. With being, with my discouraged, help me to get me more motivated. I really want to do this thing here. So, and so you call on God and ask Him to help you, and then you got to work in accordance with your prayers. You got to be willing to help yourself and work in accordance with your prayers. And so, and then what I'm saying, work in cohesion with God. And so that's what a lot of times what needs to be done. But black people can't use racism as an excuse for everything. You can't use racism as an excuse. Um, we can't use racism as an excuse for all the problems that we're having in our communities. When we are not as a race, as a collective, we're not making good choices. It's the choices that we're making. that if we can do better, but you're for some reason choosing not to do better, and for some reason you're choosing to make certain decisions, and then it's cause and effect. You make a decision, and that's the result of that decision you made, and it's it's 9 times out of 10 a bad result. If you pick up a gun, people in our community are picking up guns and they're shooting people, unaliving people. Okay, ain't nobody making you do that. Nobody is forcing you to do that. You're making the conscious decision. You're making the decision to pick up a gun and unalive someone. That is a conscious decision that you're making because you having anger issues, poor problem solving, lack of morals, anger issues, all those things. So instead of always, like I say, instead of always looking outside of ourselves, need to look inward and say, okay, what's going on with me? Why I can't get to a certain place in life? What's going on with me? And sometimes it's circumstances. Like I said, life happens, and you know we go through different things in life, and then it causes us to get extremely discouraged, and then you get so discouraged to the point to where you just go into depression, and you just I just and you lose motivation. I know what I'm talking about because it happened to me. I'm still trying to get my motivation back up there. I can't blame white folks. Sometimes this life happens, it's circumstances, and then it'll cause you to go into a certain mind mind frame. But you gotta have if you have to really want something bad enough. You have to really want something. There's successful people out there that really wanted it so bad. They had all those emotions. They got discouraged, they got frustrated, they got depressed. They went through all that, but they still persevered because why? They wanted it so bad. They wanted it so bad, so they didn't give up, and they just kept going over those hurdles and kept going over those hurdles, and they got where they needed to go. And so that's what you need to do. You got to do what you have to do to get to that place to where, okay, I do want this thing, and I really want it bad. What steps do I need to take, or what's some of the challenges that I got to overcome to get to that place? Instead of saying, "Oh, it's the white people's holding me back." No, it's not. They're not holding you back. You're holding yourself back. Racism, blaming racism only go so far. You got to look inward. Is it an obstacle? Absolutely, it's an obstacle. Because I lost a couple jobs because of racism. One job I was forced to resign. I prayed to God. I didn't know what I was going to do at first. And I prayed to God, and He opened up another door for me. He opened up another door for me. And I walked right in it. And I started over. It seemed like I was always starting over. And I started over. And I kept pushing. Well, I had two sons that was dependent on me, so I had to keep pushing. So I kept pushing. I kept it moving. So when one door closes, another one opens. Y'all know everybody has heard that saying. When one door closes, another one opens. That one door gets closed, God will open up another door. But you can't go into a pity party and say, "Oh, the white people," even if you do experience it, some racism. You can't go to into a big old pity party of the white people and just completely give up. I had to be willing to walk through that door. I had to apply for the job, and I had to be willing to walk through that door. God did the rest. So you just got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, pray, and keep it moving. If you go through some racism, because you're going to go through it. Pick yourself up, pray, dust yourself off, get up, get right back out there. But you can do it. Because if God is for you, who can be against you? If something is meant for you, and if something is meant to happen for you, it's going to happen regardless. And no, it ain't telling it. It doesn't matter what obstacles is being thrown in your way. It's going to happen because it's happened for a lot of black people. We got some black billionaires out there, black billionaires. We got black millionaires. So it's been proven that it can be done. They are living proof that it can be done. But they were willing to take certain steps, overcome certain obstacles, and they continue to have their eye on the prize. Trust God. They was willing to do all that and persevere. Determination. They was willing to do all that. And they got it. They made it. They went through over a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles, but they made it. Did they endure racism? Yeah, but they still made it. Because you had our people back in the day, they're building whole infrastructures all over various parts of the country. And that was at a time where our people didn't even have any rights. Jim Crow. Our people didn't even have any rights at that time. But our ancestors was able to build those infrastructures. It's amazing. It took determination and perseverance. Were they discouraged? Absolutely. We we got it good. Black people got it good. They didn't have half of the freedoms that we have now. But they were still able to do all that. So if they was able to do it, what's our excuse? We ain't got no excuse. Because our ancestors and people that came before us did it. Under way less circumstances. We got it good compared to them. Because at one time, black folks had no rights. But they were still able to accomplish certain things. So if they was able to do it back then, we certainly can do it now. I don't know. I can't understand what that music is. So don't copyright me. I don't understand what it is. So look inward. That's the overall message of this video. Look inward. And stop always looking. Black people, look inward. Stop always looking outside of yourself for the problems to why you're not at a certain level in life or why certain things are happening to you. Yeah, we're going to experience certain racism, but we can overcome that and still be successful. We can clean up our communities. All those things can be done. We can build infrastructures again. We can do it. It's all about the mindset. We got to change our mindset. Our mindset has to be changed. We have to have a certain mindset to be able to do certain things in our community. But it starts with us. We got to change our mindset. That's the reason why we're not making progress, because it's because of our mindset. It ain't racism. It's our mindset. Yeah. Because Hispanics, Asians, they go through discrimination too. They had to endure racism too, but they still managed to build as successful communities. Yeah, other races of people do it. So blaming racism only goes so far. We gotta change our mindset. It all starts up here. We're too divided, and that is our main problem. Once we get unified, start changing our mindset, get out of that slave mentality. A lot of us are still in that slave mentality. You gotta get out of that slave mentality. Mm-mm. And don't be letting nobody tell us what we can't do. You know, the people, our ancestors before us, didn't let nobody tell them what they couldn't do. They went on and did certain things. They went on and did a lot of things. There's no excuse. Lots of people that came before us done infrastructures and everything, accomplished a lot of stuff, and they had it way worse than what we got it. So at the end of the day, it ain't no excuse. It ain't no excuse. They didn't let racism stop them. They didn't let Jim Crow stop them. They still did what they had to do. Was it a struggle? Yeah, but they did it. So at the end of the day, there's no excuse for us. We can't blame racism. We can't do it. Okay, you made it to the end of this video. Thank you. Listening to my message. Hit that like, subscribe, and share. And hit that notification bell. Every time I do a video, you will be notified. And until the next video, you guys be blessed.